These days, it's harder than ever to be an NBA fan. Coming up with the newest interpretation or the most absurd point of view seems to be the trendy thing to do in order to garner a little traction on social media. Even active athletes frequently endure scorn and abuse from fans and media figures who are mired in the past. 1. Bob Cousy. Because of a dispute between Chris "Mad Dog" Russo and former NBA player J.J. Redick on ESPN, Bob Cousy's name has been the subject of considerable controversy. Redick asserted that his competition was little more than plumbers and firemen, while Russo argued that Cousy was one of the best point guards in history. Every time Cousy has been mentioned, claims that he cannot shoot or handle the ball with his offhand have come up. The most common interpretation of Redick's statements after they went viral was that if he were to be magically transported to Cousy's time, he would be regarded as the greatest player of all time. How quickly people forget that the regulations differ greatly. They must be unaware of Cousy's reputation as a man who was decades ahead of his time and a sorcerer with the basketball in his hands. They utterly ignore factors that made him a consummate winner, such as his leadership and playmaking. His participation in 13 All-Star games and 6 NBA championships mattered nothing in comparison to his rivals, right? Why do we punish players for circumstances that are clearly out of their control? For 8 straight seasons, Bob Cousy ranked first in the NBA in assists. The position of point guard was invented by Bob Cousy. Bob Cousy is an MVP, a winner, and a champion. 2. Clyde Drexler. Many believe that Clyde Drexler's 1995 championship victory was made possible by the fact that his long-standing nemesis, Michael Jordan, was no longer playing basketball and instead playing baseball. Before that season, Jordan's Bulls and Clyde's Trailblazers were insurmountable foes for both teams. Drexler led Portland to 2 NBA Finals appearances during his 12 seasons there and was selected to the All-Star Game 10 times. Drexler was one of the finest players in the league, even though they lost both finals. Yet he is never treated as such. I rarely hear Drexler's name mentioned when the greatest shooting guards of all time are discussed. When his name is brought up, it's usually one of the last and is met with more laughter than praise. They'd frequently refer to Jordan's rivals as weak, but Drexler was anything but. Drexler led the Blazers to the finals in 1990 and had back-to-back seasons of at least 27.0 PPG in 1988 and 1989. In addition, I've heard Hakeem Olajuwon carried Drexler to a title, which entirely ignores Drexler's accomplishments. 3. John Stockton. Overrated is one of my least favorite adjectives to use when describing players. I constantly hear people refer to John Stockton in this exact way. We frequently hear that he wasn't able to score enough. The pick and roll with Karl Malone is the sole reason he is as good as he is. He was never able to lead his squad to victory and a title. John Stockton was a true point guard in the purest sense. He didn't have to win to succeed. Imagine being ranked among the top 5 point guards of all time, while also being the all-time leader in assists and steals. It is absurd. When Karl Malone was on the court, John Stockton averaged 10.8 APG. When Malone wasn't on the court, he had a 9.6 APG average, with or without the mailman. Passing doesn't alter significantly. In terms of all-time point guards, Kidd and Payton may be the only 2 who can match Stockton's perimeter defense. It is astounding how little defense is discussed in these arguments. Did Malone help him increase his statistics and assists? Naturally, they did. What was he to accomplish? Was he expected to discover another strategy to triumph? Both Stockton and Malone profited from having each other. Don't discount them since they are an all-time great team. 4. Carmelo Anthony. One of the most well-known users of sophisticated analytics since its beginnings is Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo established himself as one of the NBA's top scorers shortly after entering the league in 2003. He challenged LeBron James for the Rookie of the Year award, and many people believe he should have taken home the prize. The reality remains that every year that Carmelo Anthony played for the Denver Nuggets, they were a playoff club. The Knicks era followed that. With New York, he experienced some of his best scoring seasons. He helped a struggling team reach the postseason and even helped them win their first playoff game in 20 years. 5. Moses Malone. When was the last time Moses Malone was mentioned when talking about the greatest centers to ever play the game? Exactly. Malone was a 3-time MVP, a Finals MVP, and a player whose career averages were over 20.0 PPG and 12.0 RPG. It is really perplexing that we never hear him ranked among the greats. He deserves a lot more recognition from the NBA family for being one of the first players to enter the league straight out of high school and start dominating. Moses is yet another casualty of those who are overly focused on productivity metrics. He did shoot 49.5% from the field, compared to other bigs who average over 60%. Is it what prevents him from being an all-time great? There shouldn't be. His purported stat puffing for rebounds shouldn't either. The main consideration should be an individual's impact. And Malone had a significant one during his playing career. He was a key component in the 76ers' 1983 championship, run thanks to his 23.7 PPG and 16.6 RPG. Moses has a resume that is uncommon among players, much less those in his position. 6. James Harden, at his peak. James Harden could be considered the best defensive player in history. He is now considered washed up and a non-impact player after a few down years. That sentiment is completely incorrect. You hear jokes about his weight and questions about his desire to play. But you never hear about how he is still an impactful player who helps win games. Arguments that he is a flopper or simply hunts for throws are sometimes valid, but they are not the foundation of his game. 7. Russell Westbrook. Others claim that Russ is one of the top 5 point guards of all time. Some have allowed their career to be defined by a single disappointing Los Angeles season. Even in winter, the amount of vitriol and hatred directed towards Westbrook on a daily basis is astounding. He averaged a triple-double and guided the Wizards to the playoffs just a year ago. But now, he is the villain because he struggled to adapt to his fourth system in 4 years while playing with LeBron. For the sake of his children, the guy pleaded with everyone to cease disparaging his last name, and he received harsh criticism as a result. 8. Tim Duncan, one of those athletes. Tim Duncan makes your blood boil because it doesn't seem like he should have been as amazing as he was. Regardless of how good you thought he was actually better than that. You may get cooked on both ends of the floor, even though he may have appeared slow or uninteresting. He became the finest power forward to ever play the position and one of the best winners in NBA history with his simple moves that no one could manage to stop. 9. LeBron James. Since I've been watching basketball for 26 years, I can honestly say that I have never seen a player as outstanding as LeBron James receive the kind of disdain that is shown to him. We still find a way to disparage and trash his 20-year career, despite the fact that he has the court IQ Einstein, handles like a point guard, and is one of the greatest floor raisers ever. Once more, it may be due to the fact that so many of us are mired in the past and find it impossible to imagine someone challenging the reputation of our beloved player as the greatest to have ever played. In either case, it must come to an end. 10. Kobe Bryant. Even more upsetting to me than the fact that any of the players I've mentioned are even included on this list is how many people disrespect the late Kobe Bryant. When I was younger, I was in awe of Kobe Bryant. And today, I'd hear far too many people talk about him, as if he were just another athlete, even though he was anything but. The most insulting and hurtful thing I heard about Kobe is that Shaquille O'Neal carried him to his first 3 championships. Imagine producing the kind of numbers Kobe did just to have people claim you were carried 2 decades later. Hope you liked the video. Please give a thumbs up and comment down your favorite player in the NBA.